A very good evening to all beloved Sarawakians. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live session of Parti Bumi Kenyalang Facebook Live. We have heard people talking about IR. We have heard people talking about UDI. What is IR? IR is Independence Referendum. What is UDI? UDI is Unilateral Declaration of Independence. This topic is a very, very important topic tonight. But tonight, we are very honored to have two distinguished speakers to help us to understand UDI, to help us to understand IR. Let me introduce to you these two speakers. The first speaker is Priscilla Lau. She's a lawyer by profession. She's also a master's degree holder, and she is the current Secretary General of Parti Bumi Kenyalang. Let's welcome Priscilla Lau. Let's give her a big welcome. Welcome, Priscilla.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for attending this Facebook Live.
Thank you. The second speaker that I'm going to introduce, is none other than Deborah Chong. Deborah is our current Central Committee member. She's also our Deputy Publicity Chief. She's going to talk on the UDI. Priscilla will talk on IR. So without further ado, let me address the question to Priscilla. What does the term referendum mean?
Generally, a referendum is where the rakyat, the voters, the electorate of an area, they have a direct and universal right to vote on any issues. So a referendum gives the rakyat the right to vote on how they want to handle any issues. And after the vote of a referendum, the government of the day can decide to use the result from this referendum and make it into law or not make it into law. And that is basically a general definition of a referendum.
So, Priscilla, in that case, how does a referendum take place?
Okay, for a referendum to take place, the first thing that has to be done is we have to have a referendum act in place. So you need to have the law that guides the referendum. If you don't have the law, so you have to go back to the drawing board. You must have a bill passed into Parliament for debate, and then after the many readings and debates and all that, then it will get passed to the lower house, the upper house, then get gazetted and make into law. Now that all takes time. So a referendum can only occur after a law has been passed to guide it. Don't forget, a referendum is about voting, and the only ones who can deal with voting is actually the in Malaysia we have SPR, so the SPR of the country. Thank you.
Okay, in that case, Priscilla, what then is an independent referendum?
Independence referendum is the same as any other referendum, but it is dealing with independence. So the issues of independence. So basically you have a Independence Referendum Act where the whole country, all the eligible and registered voters will come along and just vote to say whether they want to be independent or not. So that is an independence referendum.
With that in mind, so how does one start this independence referendum? How to get it done?
To want to get the independence referendum started, the first thing any nationalist of any country will tell you, they will have to form the government of the day, meaning you have to win your elections. So in Sarawak here, we not only have to win the state election, we have to win the federal elections as well, because federal has to agree with us and laws are passed in federal, especially the Referendum Act for Independence. So because of that, it is a long process. You must go through your state election, you must win, make sure you win, then you must go to federal and you must make sure you win that as well. Only then you pass the Independence Referendum Act, and then using that, you go and do a referendum. That's the first steps.
So if in that case, if we do not form the government, how can this independence referendum be brought about then?
Well, if a group of people who are wanting independence through referendum, if they want to do it that way, then if they do not form the government of the day, then what do? They must go to the government of the day, whoever it is, especially the federal government, and say, hey, please come and sit down with me. Let's have a chit chat. Let's talk about it. Let's come into negotiations, whether you are agreeable or not to pass a referendum act for independence for Sarawak. So unless the federal government wants to sit with you, you just have to keep on begging. Thank you.
So if the government do not agree, if the government do not agree to hold a referendum, Priscilla, what then?
Okay, if the government is, let's say the federal government does not use referendum, some parties are saying, well, you can go ahead. We can do our own referendum. We don't need federal to approve. Fine. You can go ahead and do your own independence referendum. So you issue your own ballot papers. You have your own questionnaires. You have your own ballot boxes. You have your own list of voters. Although I don't quite know where you're going to get that from. Complete list of voters for Sarawak. Then you can go ahead and do all that. That's what Catalonia did in Spain. Barcelona, Catalonia, they did that, and then they won overwhelmingly. The referendum was for, and we want independence. People voted that. However, the Spanish Constitutional Court threw that referendum for independence out because there's no law to provide for it, and because they did it themselves without the approval of the federal parliament. And while Spain is a little bit different from us, because like I always say, Spain has a Spanish agreement for all the regions when they formed Spain, including Catalonia, that none of them can leave, succeed from from Spain, the Federation of Spain. Okay, thank you.
If the government agrees to a referendum, what issues may be brought up for negotiation with the government?
Okay. So if the government is very nice and say, hey, come on, let's come and talk, they might be open to it, for some, maybe they're in a very good mood. So they say, let's come and talk. I'll negotiate with you as to how you may have a referendum. To sit down, there's so many points, so many things you have to talk about, to think about. But the main 6 things that which Catalonia had trouble with were, number 1, the date and the time that you want to hold it. So you have to have negotiations to put it at a reasonable date and a reasonable time, meaning notice, must be given. Secondly, the voting age, like Scotland, they lowered the voting age. Thirdly, what questions are you going to put on this questionnaire for them to vote on? Fourthly, like I said just now, the notice has to go out and it has to explain very clearly what is happening. So the notice must say, well, there is a referendum going on now for independence. Would you want just autonomy, full autonomy, half autonomy, full independence, self-determination, or just status quo? Questions like that has to be asked. The rakyat has to have enough notice of not only time, but of the action being taken. Then only after that, then they can be expected to come and vote, you see. Then another thing you have to think about, the 5th one would be, well, would you want a simple majority of a vote, or do you take a quota over the whole population? And one of the last things that you have to consider, it's not the last, okay, it's just on my list, there's so many, but these will be the main 6. This will be what is the percentage of electorate that needs to come, meaning the percentage of voters. So let's say you have 2 million voters. Well, do you need just 1 million to come for it to be effective, or do you need all the 2 million to come? Catalonia lost because they argued that 400,000 voters did not come to vote. That notice was not given properly. So these are some of the main issues that you have to think about before you can even sit down for negotiations. Of course, there's the law to consider too, the Referendum Act that has to be passed beforehand. Right? So there are many things that you have to consider before you can even get the ball rolling. Thank you.
So many issues have been raised, and this seems to be looking like it's going to be a long process. So is it easy to get a successful negotiation with the government, Priscilla?
It is never easy. However, if you do not get a successful negotiation, you can actually do the referendum yourself. Like I said, this is what some of the parties are propagating at the moment. They're saying you don't need the government's approval, you don't need a referendum act. Then what they are saying is you just go ahead and do it. Okay, when you want to go ahead and do it, let me ask you, where are you going to get the electorate list from, meaning the voters list? Secondly, the ballot boxes. Who's going to be doing that? Because the ballot boxes has to be prepared. Normally, it's under our Malaysian law, for any election to be legal, you need SPR to be involved. So the ballot boxes, Catalonia had this problem too. They were queried, who did the ballot boxes? Was it even sanctioned? Is it legal? All these questions. And even the ballot paper, the voting slip. All of these questions will come in. So if you do not negotiate successfully with the government of the day, yeah, you may try. You can go and do a referendum on your own, but it will not be recognized because Parliament will not want to lose its sovereignty and people just vote and then make it into law. It doesn't work that way. So thank you.
So Priscilla, with so many process and procedures that independent referendum has to go through, if the independence referendum fails, what then, Priscilla? If it fails?
If the independence referendum fails, meaning that if they don't get their votes, right? Let's say like Scotland, they don't get their votes, it failed. Then there's only two things you can do. If you have a law that guides it, just like Scotland. Scotland had a law that Scotland Independence Referendum, which British Parliament allowed them to use in 2014, where they lost in the independence referendum. So Scotland still begging the British Parliament, seriously begging, arguing, you can say, but they are just begging the present Prime Minister Boris Johnson to give them another. And Boris Johnson has said, nah, you wait, maybe another 20 years. Seriously, he has said that. So that is the first scenario. Second scenario, if you really cannot wait, and if you don't have a referendum act, you just go straight for UDI. A lot of countries do that. UDI is unilaterally declare your country as independent. Unilateral declaration of independence for a country. So you can just go straight ahead and do that because there's no law to stop you doing that. Right? Later on, we'll talk more on this. Thank you.
Then Priscilla for Sarawak, does Sarawak have a referendum ordinance or a referendum act guiding independence? Priscilla.
Fortunately, we don't have, so please don't ask for it. We don't have an independence referendum act or even an ordinance or any law where we must follow to do a referendum if we want independence. So in the meantime, Sarawak is free to just go the fastest route of UDI. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla, for giving the explaining on independent referendum. Now we're going to talk about UDI. We're going to address this question to Deborah. So how then can Sarawak gain her independence?
Okay, so Sarawak is not bound by any law to gain her independence through the process of referendum. Sarawak can straight away cut the chase and go straight to UDI, which is the Unilateral Declaration of Independence by Sarawak Adun. Thank you, Raymond.
So when you mention about UDI, what is UDI, Deborah? What is UDI?
What is UDI? UDI is short for Unilateral Declaration of Independence. A UDI, I'm gonna use this word UDI because the whole word Unilateral Declaration of Independence is very long. So I'm gonna keep calling it UDI, yeah? So UDI is a formal process, okay? It's carried out by a non-independent state or region where they declare itself independent without signing any formal agreement with any other state or region. Thank you, Raymond.
So under Sarawak context, thank you, Deborah. So the next question I'm going to ask, so can Sarawak be independent through UDI, Deborah?
Yes, Sarawak can get our independence through UDI. Let's look at the country Kosovo. I'm going to tell you a story about Kosovo. I believe maybe some of us already heard of this story, but I'm still going to repeat this story. So Serbia and Kosovo. Serbia is an independent nation, independent country, much like Malaya. And Kosovo is like Sarawak, a non-independent region or state. So how did Kosovo gain her independence? In the year 2008, February 17, Kosovo in their Adun, like our Sarawak Adun, had unilaterally declared independence by show of hand. 109 out of 120 of the YBs show their hand in support of the motion to whether they want to have independence or not. And they got the independence because 109 of them showed their hands. After that, in the United Nations International Court of Justice, they recognize this and they say, a non-independent state have the right as provided in the international law decolonization resolution 1514. So I repeat that. They say a non-independent state have the right to independence provided by the international law of decolonization resolution act, resolution 1514. Thank you, Raymond.
So Sarawak can be independent through UDI. So in practice, what is the process of UDI that can lead to Sarawak's independence?
All right. So I break it down to 5 steps, 5 simple steps. I break it down to 5 easy to remember steps. First of all, PB Care must form the Sarawak government in the upcoming PRN 12. Second, PB Care will then bring a motion to unilaterally declare independence for Sarawak. Number 3, the Sarawak Assembly, which is our Sarawak Adun, of 82 YBs will then have to vote by a show of hands as to whether they support this motion of UDI. Number 4, upon a show of at least 42 out of 82 of the YBs, the motion is carried and Sarawak is officially on the road to independence. Number 5, Sarawak will then apply to be a member of United Nations. Thank you, Raymond.
So then the next question I want to ask, does the Malaysian federal government need to approve UDI?
No, they don't need to approve because Sarawak has the intrinsic right to independence through the international law provided by the Colonization Resolution 1514. Therefore, guided by this international law, our Sarawak Adun is actually a very powerful body that can unilaterally declare Sarawak's independence. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Priscilla. We are going to have another session. We have come to the end of this discussion on UDI and IR. We are going to have another session on Wednesday, and Deborah, you are going to put on the next Wednesday. This coming Wednesday, there will be another session. This coming Wednesday.
This coming Wednesday, it will be in Chinese. I'm going to show you guys the brochure. So, 我讲华语啊，我华语不是很好，但是我讲华语哈。肯雅兰全民党主题是肯雅兰全民党执政独立后的政策，这个是我们来临星期三晚上8点的这个直播的主题，说欢迎大家帮我们今晚再 share 出去。那我们还没结束之前，我们会来一个 Q&A. Raymond, we are going to have a Q&A session, right?
Yeah. We have heard from Deborah. We have heard from Priscilla. We are now open for questions. Please ask your questions. Please ask your question. We are now open for questions. Please ask a question. Feel free to.
While we wait for the questions to come in, can I just say a few words?
Yes, Priscilla, please.
Okay, everyone, can you see on the side here, we have a scan to sponsor. This is actually where if you really want to sponsor Sarawak's independence movement, can you just scan that and you donate any amount that you want? Every little bit is very much appreciated. It just gives us that encouragement to carry on and to be able to just bring this to fruition. Because Sarawak independence is not easy. Our group, you know, it is all made up of people like you, people like me. We are just men on the street. We do not have multitudes or mountains of finances to support us or resources, so we need all the support that we can get. So if you are watching this, whether you're watching it now or live or you're watching it in replay, I urge you to just scan that and just, you know, even if you do a monthly contribution or just whatever little that you can sacrifice, Sarawak will thank you for it. It is planting a seed for the betterment of our future generations where they can harvest a free Sarawak. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla, for explaining. We thank you. Let's look at some of the comments from our viewers. From I think Dimitri VZECL said, yes, we want independence, we can do it. Thank you for your good comment. Then you have Ding Purat, he said, mantap dan terbaik Parti Bumi Kenyalang. That's a good comment. Thank you for the good comment. Then you have the same Dimitri VZECL. Then let's go all out for Sarawak independence. Thank you so much for the good support. Then you have Bell Hu. Share this UDI to everyone in Sarawak. Priscilla and share it, no? Share it. You know? Then you have he who. If IR fails, who are to be blamed? The parties initiate it or the people of Sarawak? If IR fails, the question comes from, I think it's he who. If IR fails, who are to be blamed? The party initiated it or the people of Sarawak? Priscilla.
If IR fails, IR, like I say, it is not easy to do. The person or the party that initiates the IR must really know the process of it. Catalonia has done it, Quebec has done it and failed twice. Look at the history. Look at the history, because I don't know, I also go online, I read the history. So we look at countries that had success with IR. It's very, very difficult. They've had it once, twice, 3 times. The process is just too long. The people of Sarawak do not want to wait for another 15 years, 20 years. I've been told that, people are propagating, saying that we do IR, 15 years later we'll be independent. Well, that I cannot accept. If we have another option, right? If you get an option, why don't you go for the faster option? So if IR fails, definitely the people and the party who propagates it must be to blame, because you are purposely delaying independence for Sarawak. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Next question is asked by Teapot Tang. His question is, how confident are we for independence? How confident are we for independence? Priscilla, you'd like to answer this question also?
How confident are we? Independence is, like Deborah says, international right. So if it is your international right, how confident are you to get this right back? It's just like I come to you now and I say, hey, your grandparents passed away 20 years ago and they left you a mansion. Nobody told you about it, but now I'm telling you, you've got a mansion. All you have to do, you come to my law firm, I do a transfer and it's yours. Now you have a choice. You can say, oh yeah, I know I got this mansion. Yeah, thanks for telling me, but I don't quite believe it's mine. So you can sit back. You can sit back, you have a choice. And that mansion will just sit there with this beautiful land until maybe the land lease expires, the government takes it back or whatever, or maybe squatters move in to live, or maybe your next door neighbors start to live in it and take all your nice furniture away. I don't know. So what happens when we don't believe in our inheritance? If you don't believe it, if I don't believe it, I'm not at all confident that we get our independence. However, if you believe it, if I believe it, I'm telling you, under the law, the international law, like what Deborah says, we have the right. Yes. So if you have the right, come to my law firm, quickly sign, take back your mansion, isn't it? So what do you have to do? What do I have to do? The same thing. Pick up the pen, put an X. When you see this logo, you see our beautiful logo there, which side here. There you go. When you see that logo, you don't care who is the name there. You just put a big X. When you can do that, when I can do that, that is when I'm 100% confident Sarawak will get her independence. She depends on us. Without you, without me, nobody can give her independence. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. The next question is asked by Sukarno Layao. I'm maybe not so sure what he's asked questions like this. Let me read you. How do we confident UDI can convince the voter to vote PBK? If I do not interpret it wrongly, I would say, how confident are we with UDI so that we can convince the voter to vote PBK? I think that is what he meant. Should I ask Priscilla or should I ask
Deborah is expert on UDI.
I can answer this one because it is our right. Just now, Priscilla already mentioned it is our right, and I also mentioned that it is our right. So when we explain to our voters, to the people of Sarawak, not only voters, but to the people of Sarawak, that they have the right to take back what is theirs, then the easy thing to do is just mark an X on the ballot paper. Correct or not, Priscilla? Just mark the X on the ballot paper beside our logo. Look at the logo here. It's very easy to recognize. Okay, we know some other party also have a Kenyalang bird on their logo, but the main difference is ours have a pair of feet, and and the Sarawak map on its body. So it is built upon Sarawak, for Sarawak. All right. So yeah, we do have our right to independence. We just need to explain it in a very simple and easy steps for our supporters and for Sarawak people to understand.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. Jowin Wong, he has made a good comment. He said, we choose the best and support UDI. He do PBK. That is a comment from Jowin. And he mentioned again, PBK is the only party that can bring Sarawak to independence. Vote PBK. Very good comment. Thank you, Jowin, for the very good comment. Then you have got another comment from Andy. Andy yesterday, we choose the best and support UDI. He took PBK. That is another very good comment. Thank you, Andy. The next comment comes from Chai Kwek Kun. He mentioned he took Sarawak, our motherland. He took Sarawak, our motherland. Thank you, Chai, for the good comment. Thank you so much. Are there any more questions coming in? Then you have got another comment from Eric. Eric said, he took Sarawak, we love Sarawak. From Eric Nyen. He said, he took Sarawak, we love Sarawak. Thank you for all these good comments. Keep the comment coming. We love Sarawak. Yes, that is our motherland. That's our motherland. Any more questions? Then you have got another question coming in from Patrick Teo. Patrick Teo asked, did we have referendum when Sarawak formed the federation? Let me ask the question. Did we have referendum when Sarawak formed the federation? Then the next question is, did the Manila Accord referendum carry out? He asked so many questions. Did the federation went through referendum when they downgraded and took away the resources of Sarawak? Then he went on. Did Sarawak go for referendum when they exit the federation? There's so many questions together. So,
overall,
yep.
Overall, the answer is no. We never had a proper referendum when it's supposed to be under the Cobo Commission, but the record is only for 4,000 people who supposedly all voted yes, and I'm reading the note there now. And we never had a referendum for the downgrading in 1976 of Sarawak from a Negara to a Negeri. Singapore never had a referendum for it to exit. So Singapore exited, and Singapore did UDI in their Congress, to Lee Kuan Yew went in and they declared independence in 1965. So no, the answer generally to the whole thing is no. No one ever got our opinions. No one ever got us to vote yes or no. So we don't have such a law. So I guess the answer is still no. So we don't want a referendum act if we can do it by the faster route. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. There is another very good comment. A comment from President of Parti Bumi Kenyalang, President Wendy Sun. His comment is, independence is an intrinsic right. This is allowed under international law. Oppression and suppression by Malaysia are grounds to seek independence. It's a very good comment. Let me maybe read again. Independence is an intrinsic right. This is allowed under international law. Oppression and suppression by Malaysia are grounds to seek independence. That is what the President of Parti Bumi Kenyalang said. Then they have another comment by Parti Bumi Kenyalang Live. And the comment is, UDI is the right way and only way for independence. Time for Sarawak people to support PBK and vote candidates in Tudun and form the next Sarawak government. It's a comment from Parti Bumi Kenyalang Live. Then the next, there's another comment from T-Bok Tham. Thank you, Priscilla. We should all stay united and fight for what belongs to us. You give me confidence. What we need is more members and more manpower to get the momentum going. We have achieved independence within the next. We have to achieve independence within the next few years. Love you all and love Sarawak. God bless. Thank you. Another comment from our Professor Dr. Richard Ibo. The formation of the Federation of Malaysia is flawed. How true is this? And how can we convince the voters this? Priscilla, you want to answer?
Okay, this is a topic that we talked about in one of our sessions before. The topic was finishing the 58 years journey to independence. You can see it on our Facebook live session. It's actually on YouTube as well now. So if you look for the topic, finishing Sarawak's 58 years journey to independence, in there we talk about this. Let me just briefly tell you whether the Malaysia agreement is flawed. Okay, we have to look at international law. We always like to look at international law. As lawyers, if we do not have laws, then there's nothing to follow. Then it's just you say, I say. So let's look at the law. The United Nations in Chagos Island case, the International Court of Justice said that non-sovereign nation cannot enter into a legally binding agreement with a sovereign nation. Now that's legal terms. Let's put it into layman's terms. Basically, it means that if you are still a colony, you cannot sign a legally binding agreement with your colonial master. Because what happens was Chagos Island is an island that belongs to Mauritius. Mauritius in 1960 wanted her independence from Britain. So Britain made Mauritius sign an agreement. And in that agreement in 1960, it says, I give you your independence, but Chagos Island remains with Great Britain. And Great Britain has leased it out to America to form their naval base. So what Mauritius did was, Mauritius took this issue to the International Court of Justice, United Nations. And United Nations in February 2019, okay? We're not talking about 1919, we're talking about the year 2019, which is 2 years ago only in February. United Nations International Court of Justice said that a colony cannot sign a legally binding agreement with a colonial master. So based on that, if you look at the Malaysia Agreement 1963, who is a colony? You should know, right? Sarawak is a colony, Sabah was a colony, and Singapore had her self-determination. Only Malaya was independent. So we effectively cannot sign a legally binding contract. This is according to UN ICJ's opinion. No? Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. I think this question is the next question, which is asked by Conan Drum. This question is: Singapore had a fake referendum which LKY Lee Kuan Yew called Hobson's choice. Singapore acceded Malaysia by mutual agreement with Malaya. LKY Lee Kuan Yew did not declare UDI in 1965. He proclaimed the independence of Singapore under Independence of Singapore Act passed by the Federal Parliament. Lee Kuan Yew declared UDI on August 31st, 1963. Priscilla, you would like to answer this question? Or that was his comment?
That is his comment. If Singapore did declare her independence in 1963, she would not have had to have another. She actually signed the agreement for Singapore's independence with Malaya in 1960. It was dated 1966. Then Singapore official independence date is August 1965. That's what they celebrate. So when she exited Malaysia, then she declared herself independent.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another question. Yep.
Connor also asked a question earlier on.
Yes.
Can you read from the screen?
Okay. Let me see. Ask another question earlier. Let me see from the screen. I saw this. There was no. Is there another earlier question? Let me see. Let me scroll down and see whether there's another question here. Richard Chan asked one question. Richard Chan's question is: what are the ratio of Sarawakian accepting independence? Chinese, Malay, Iban. What are the ratio? Richard Chan's question. Of Sarawakian.
I would love to know as well. Richard, could you please do a survey for us? Because at the moment, nobody can do the survey. Every time anyone tries to put anything up, you know how it is. There'll be some real, some fake, some whatever. So I would love to know what is the actual figure. I would love to know too.
Then Irene Wu also asked another question. Irene Wu's question is: prior to the independence, need the majority consent of YB and their support? Is it required consensus YB and their support prior to independence? Does it require that, Priscilla?
Prior to the independence, do we need the majority of consent of YB and the support? Well, it depends what you mean. When you are having the UDI, if now we form the government of Sarawak, right? So we will be sitting in Parliament, a motion will be passed for UDI. So of course you will need a simple majority of the YBs to raise their hands and say, yes, we do want to support this. So out of the 82 seats, you need 42 hands to show. Then you have your independence. So if that is what you mean, then that is the answer. Yeah, you do need some of them to support you. But if you form the government, just all of PBK, we can just show our own hands and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. There's another question that Tracy Leong asked. The question is: may I know what your party's election manifesto?
Tracy, fantastic question. Thank you. We are actually in the process of finishing it off now. Because things change all the time. So our manifesto has also been through the mill a few times so that we will be relevant. We cannot just make empty promises and become not relevant. So as times change, you know how fast now we move, especially with all these MCO things. So yes, our manifesto will be given very, very quick. But our main thing that you have to hold to your heart is everything that is in our manifesto comes from one thing only, which is independence. If Sarawak is independent, then this is what we will do. We will tell you how we can make Sarawak a much, much greater Sarawak than what it is now. Thank you.
There's a comment from Chai Kwek Queen inviting Tebok Tang to come on board to be an agent of common vision in quest independence. Take up the challenge, Tebok. Take up the challenge by Chai Kwek Queen. Okay, the next comment comes from our President Winnie San. He mentioned about Malaysia's agreement 1963 is invalid because at that time it was signed. Sabah, Sarawak, Singapore, being still colonies, had no legal capacity to sign the agreement. So let me read that statement again. Malaysia agreement 1963 is invalid because at that time it was signed. Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore being still colonies and no legal capacity to sign the agreement. That is President Woon's answer comment. Then they have got the another comment from President Woon again. Even if the Malaysian agreement was valid, it was void once substantial terms agreement has been reached. So there's another basis for the agreement MH to be void because it has been reached, many terms and conditions have been reached. Then another question by Conan Drum again. Charcoal's agreement was made in 1965 and Mauritius became independent in 1968. That is his comment. Charcoal's agreement was in 1965. Mauritius became independent in 1968. That is Conan Drum's comment. Then the next question by Table Tang. Should keep in touch and I am interested in coming on board. Thank you. He has taken up your comment. Come on board. That's very, very good. Very, very good. So that's good. And then another comment by Conan Drum again. He said Lee Kuan Yew proclamation, the proclamation of Singapore, whereas in Singapore, whereas it is an inalienable right of a people to be free and independent, and whereas Malaysia was established on 16 September 1963 by a federation of existing states of the Federation of Malaya and the states of Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore into one independent and sovereign nation. And whereas it was also agreed by the parties to the said agreement that upon the separation of Singapore from Malaysia. That is his comment from Conan Drum. So I think we have asked a lot of questions. We have answered. The viewers have asked a lot of questions, and we have answered many questions. I think a question from a comment from Ling Moi Hong. LKY or Lee Kuan Yew declared UDI on August 31st, 1963. When the Singapore government got all the powers, including internal affairs and defense, from UK. That is a comment from Madam Ling. Then Wesley Cole. Kosovo has been the most successful in this regard, using unilateral declaration of independence. Means Wesley is supporting what Kosovo has done is unilateral declaration of independence. He's giving us an example that it is the right approach. Wesley Cole mentioned again. I think he mentioned this is a repetition of the same question. Conan, I think it's a good question. That's all. I think that's all the questions that have been come in. We thank you. We have come to the end of our Q&A. We thank you so much for so many questions being asked. We also thank you for the panelists who have been kind enough to answer all the questions. And we have thank you for all of you joining us. We hope that tonight you can send out and like the page, follow the page, continue to follow the page, because coming on board there will be many more sessions. We're going to tell you, we're going to let you know, come on board and listen to what Parti Bumi Kenyalang has to let us know. So tonight we say thank you to Priscilla and also Deborah Chung. Before we go, Priscilla, Deborah, do you have anything more to add? In conclusion, do you have anything to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add something. It's been 58 years, that we are with Malaya. Now, since UDI is such a shortcut for us to take, everyone can do it as long as they can do it, that they say it in the adun. But why? For so many years, nobody did it. Who are the ones that voted these people into becoming our government? We need to think about this. Who are the ones that voted for them to be our government? And do they really have our interest in heart? Do they really have our interest in heart? For 58 years, look at Sarawak. Look at the condition of Sarawak now. Before MCO, I was traveling across Sarawak every week. I will be in Miri. I will be in Miri for 1 week. Second week, I'll go to Bintulu. Third week, go to Cebu and to Kuching for 1 week. Me as a lady, I travel by car. I drive all the way to Kuching, up and down every week. For the whole year, 2 years I did that. In 1 year, I have to change my tires 6 times. And imagine me as a lady driving on a pan Borneo. Okay, we have a joke for that, but I don't think it's proper for me to say it on live. But you all know what the joke is, the pan Borneo joke. Me as a lady, I have a few times I almost got into accident while I was on that road. How many lives have been lost on that pan Borneo? How many lives have been lost on that pan Borneo? 58 years, one road also cannot build properly. 怀疑讲啊，一条马路都没有办法做好啊，58年啊。Is Sarawak poor that we do not have the resources to build a proper road for the people? That's my question. First. Second, we don't talk about pan Borneo that is like traveling across districts. We talk about our own city. Let's talk about Miri. That few sessions before this live, I believe Eric Nien mentioned about the condition in Miri. Less than 20 kilometers from the city, we have houses that does not have electricity. People living in it don't have food, don't have electricity, don't have water. That is within city. Miri is a city. A young person like me feels very disappointed at this. Many times people like me at my age, we will just sit at a cafe and complain about our government. But complaining itself will not do anything if we did not take action to change it. So now I throw a challenge to people my age, around 20 plus to 30 plus to 40 plus. Okay, I throw a challenge to you. If you love Sarawak, take up your responsibility to change. Not simply change any government, but change a government that really cares for the Sarawak people. Because if today we do not take back our right, if today we do not take back our land, then we just stand there or sit there or lie there, watch our land taken away by other people, by other country like Malaya. I'm sorry to say this, but we are giving away without fighting for it or earning anything from it. Just like that. If you do not take up your responsibility, if we do not take up our responsibility, then we have only ourselves to blame. When our generation to come, they say, Daddy, Mommy, where is my land? Where is my inheritance? I'm sorry, my children, your inheritance has been taken away by someone else. That's right. You can only reply like that. So there, my sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. It's good sharing. I think Raymond is already jammed there. So can I carry on from what you have said? I agree with what you say. We can actually sit there and we can complain and we can just, I don't like to use this word. I was going to say a word, but let's just say we just complain very much about what is happening around us. What can we do to change it? The only way we can change it is by the power of the pen. By the power of the pen. I like to tell the story of my ancestors. My ancestors came here by boat. I think all of our ancestors came by boat 1901 when the Raja Brooks was still here. That was 4 generations ago. I'm the 4th generation. Even after spending so many years overseas, I decided to come back to Sarawak. Now, you've got to think, why did you come back to Sarawak? Isn't there another country you can go home? Do you want to be called another country home? We did. We were given PR in Australia, but we all gave it up many years ago. And we all decided to call Sarawak home again. If Sarawak really is your home, you don't have to fight with me. A lot of other parties and people, they scold me, they call me dirty words, they attack me. You don't do that. Because if you do that, you're not going to win. I'm going to lose as well, you're going to lose as well, and Sarawak is going to lose. We are the same. We are fighting for Sarawak's independence. You have your stand, I have mine. I don't attack you, you don't attack me. I know a lot of our party members have been attacked quite viciously. Some of the words that have been said, even written. We recently had someone who took PBK's shirt. I want to say this because it affected me quite a bit when I saw it. My heart was very sad because someone took PBK's shirt and put it under their feet and decided to, he says, to clean his feet. The reason was not because he doesn't believe in the independence vision. The reason was purely because his so-and-so could not be a candidate for PBK for whatever reasons. So issues like that, things like that should not even happen because this is not a personal attack time. PBK has not attacked anyone personally, and PBK will not start today. So whatever is said, you can hear. I'm sure a lot of you have heard it. And if you are one of those who's listening now, please stop it. Killing each other is not going to get Sarawak her independence. Know who is the enemy. Turn your guns the correct way. Don't turn it upon us. And I want to encourage all our voters. Understand UDI. Understand how we can get back our rights. When you understand that, you can go out and tell the next person, and tell the next person, and tell the next person. And this is how, by word of mouth, we can all be confident that Sarawak can get her independence. How else can we do it? We don't have the resources. I cannot pay you thousands of ringgit, to do this and to do that. Only by word of mouth to know what is right and what is wrong, to know which is yours and which is mine. Only then can we bring Sarawak to her rightful inheritance of independence. If today Sarawak cannot get independence, a lot of people ask me, "Hey man, really? Really can? Well, if really cannot, you think I'll be here?" And then people say, "Wow, you all just want to be YB, you just want to get the gaji and all that. You just want to be somebody." Excuse me. If we really want to be somebody, we will not start from PBK. We will have gone to a more established party where we will maybe have a better chance of winning. So people still ask me, "Priscilla, why are you still with PBK? Why you are with such a party? Why don't you go here, go there? Why don't you do this, do that?" And people even teach me all sorts of things. But you know what? If I do that, my generations will suffer to no end. My great-grandfather came on the boat, 1901. He gave me an IC, identity card. Today I have a motherland. If I continue not doing anything, don't care, I may be rather, enak lah duduk lah today. I can be quite comfortable. What about my generations? They will ask me, "Great-grandma, how come that day you didn't vote? You didn't fight for us? Great-grandpa already give you the status of the motherland, gave you an inheritance. You didn't protect it. And today, why have we got left?" Because I also hear a lot of people say, "I'm already lah. Nobody to talk to me about this. I passed my time." Excuse me? You have a responsibility to vote. You have the responsibility to make a choice, not for yourself, but for your future generations. So young ones, don't tell me, we don't understand politics. Anyone will do lah. No, don't tell me that unless you really don't want to call this your motherland. And older ones like me, don't say, I'm already lah. That won't affect me. It is all our responsibilities. Don't talk to me about races. Some people say to me, this race, that one very hard to talk to. That one race very hard to talk to. Don't point your fingers at the next race. Point a finger at yourself and your family. Have you educated your family on their right to inheritance? You must do that. I must do that. Only then Sarawak will have at least your family's votes and my family's votes. Then we start from there lah. You don't have to say, I will, but maybe they won't. So because they won't, I also won't. Sometimes I get a bit lost, in all this logic. So I really want to encourage Sarawakians, all who call Sarawak my home, Sarawak my motherland, Sarawak my Bumi Kenyalang. If you call Sarawak any of those names, please, you owe it to her to give her her independence. You don't have to like me. I always say that. You don't have to like me. But if we, PBK, know the way to bring independence, just give us 5 years. Give us that chance. You've already given them so many years. What have they done? They're asking you for 5 more years. But whatever they want to do in the next 5 years, why can't they do it now? Show us you can be the government. Like what Conan Drum was writing up just now. Push them to declare independence properly. Get it done. Get it done. No need to wait. So why have to wait for 5 more years? Election now has been put back. So you got maybe another 6 months to do what is right. Why don't you do it? Don't keep on saying, give me 5 years, I can do this. I have even people saying, who's been there for so many years, donkey years, still saying, I still have something left to give to Sarawak. These people who's been there 20 years, 30 years, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, even 10 years is too long if you haven't done anything. Why must we give you another chance? Do you understand what is a YB? A YB is the employee of the rakyat. A YB, an elected representative, is the employee of the rakyat. The rakyat vote for you, pay your salary for you. The rakyat is the boss. So I say again, next time when you go to a function, my fellow Sarawakians, don't stand up for your YB. Your YB is your employee. They should stand up for you. Why is the red carpet for them? Who pays their gaji? Something is wrong here, isn't it? The logic is not quite right. Brainwash until you cannot think already who is boss, who is kuli, who is the employee. I knew this from very, very young. My mother used to tell me. My mother is a formidable lady, graduated from Australia in the 1960s. She's still around, still doing her accountancy work. Formidable, like 82 years old already. From very young, she told me, don't stand up. Don't stand up, not mean that don't stand up to fight all, but don't stand up to the YB. Let them walk in. Why we have to stand up and clap? We were even scolded. Come on, Kaki, quickly stand up. YB is coming, clap. Seriously. Please don't do that. If ever I'm a YB, don't clap for me. Scold me if I don't do a good job. Cut my salary because you are the boss. You employ me to do the job, I must do the job. If I don't, can I beg you, give me 5 more years? Oh, I couldn't get it done in these 5 years. Give me 5 more years, and then 5 more, and then 5 more. One day I'll get it right. I still have something left I can give you. Please, lah. Sarawakians are very smart nowadays. We are very, very smart. Many are educated. Many are doctorates. Many are professors. We are all educated in one way or the other. Don't lie to us anymore. So Sarawakians, I urge you, do not make Sarawak wait 5 more years or 10 more years for her independence. Some people promise independence, but say it takes 15 years. Then let me try first. I give you your independence in 5 years instead of 15 years. Why not? Right?
Why wait? So, we can take
why wait? Why wait? No need to wait. UDI is a legal process. It is recognized by international law. It is not illegal. We don't have to beg anyone for it. So thank you, Sarawak. Thank you for watching. Please support PBK. Please urge your friends and family to just come in. We have Chinese sessions. We have English sessions. Just find the topics that you like. Go to YouTube. Put in Parti Bumi Kenyalang. Or even go to Parti Bumi Kenyalang Live. And you can see all our videos. Pick the ones you like. We are not very long-winded. We say it quick. We say quick. And you just listen. Put it as background music also can. Just learn about our rights. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Tonight we are so glad to have Priscilla and Deborah talking about from what they have been sharing in the conclusion sharing. They were talking about from their heart. They are talking from their heart. And I noticed personally that Parti Bumi Kenyalang people in Parti Bumi Kenyalang, the leaders, they are working. They are humble people, simple people. As Priscilla said, as she has mentioned that if I want to make money, I would not have joined Parti Bumi Kenyalang. That is exactly what I heard and saw in Parti Bumi Kenyalang. This is a new bunch of people moving forward to do something different. I just want to conclude by saying, there are people who are confused tonight. After Priscilla has mentioned, after Deborah has mentioned, it's a clear-cut differentiation between independent referendum and UDI. So Parti Bumi Kenyalang, from the way Priscilla has mentioned and Deborah has mentioned, you know that they are taking the right. From the way they express themselves, you know that they are doing the right thing. So tonight, I want to say thank you for us. When you go back, you go understand Parti Bumi Kenyalang's policy, why they want to use UDI. From the sharing that Priscilla has given us, and Deborah, it's a very clear-cut answer that they are going for UDI from the explanation that I gathered from the interview. But I want to say one thing. For what I want to share with us is that for all Sarawakians, as a moderator, I want to share with you that a journey begins with the first step. We have to make the first step. That is what we are talking about. The next thing is that when I read Neil Armstrong in 1969, when he was astronaut Apollo 11, when he wanted to land on the moon, then he said, a first step by man is a giant step for mankind. That is what we need to do. So tonight, I say thank you to every one of us who are listening, because a journey begins with the first step. And that is what tonight it's all about. Priscilla has done a great job trying to explain to us independent referendums. Deborah has mentioned to us UDI, which is the best option to take. I think after tonight, you understand why PBK take the UDI step, because life is at stake. So in the end, thank you so much for this evening gathering. We hope that you will continue to support Parti Bumi Kenyalang, and there will be more and more sessions coming on, and this will be very educational. I thank you from the bottom of our heart. If you like this video, please share and like it. I know many of us are not able to join us tonight because of the Olympic and because so many things going on. But never mind, you still have a time to watch again. Share it with your friend, and this is very important because these people are speaking from their heart. You have to understand, in order to move together, we make it happen. Thank you and God bless. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Good night, everyone.